Hello and whoa, who's this guy?
Wow, I had that kind of effect on you?
I was so shocked. I was ready to get started and announce the show, and then I see you pop up.
Well, I am part of this thing, ain't I?
I know, but I forgot what you look like. How have you been? You got some sun. How's
Yeah,
everything?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How you doing, Steph?
I'm doing really, really good. So, are
That
you
that
in
that is
Florida?
your that is your name, Stephanie, right?
Still is. That hasn't changed. Are you in Florida?
No, I'm in New York. I'm actually in the Bronx right now. So I just finished doing some work, and that whole community thing.
Nice. I love it. I was just saying to our amazing guests that you're always doing stuff in the community. You're always out there really helping other people and sharing your knowledge to, for other people. So really awesome. I would like to ask you, so you are in New York. Have you dealt with any of the flooding and crazy stuff that's going on in Long Island at all?
Oh yeah, no, there's been flash flooding. There's been trees down. It's been kind of crazy, but it's a lot of it centered in Long Island and different parts of New York. I know, like in Pennsylvania, northern Pennsylvania, and northern New Jersey, they've had really power outages. So it's really it depends on where the location is where it got hit hard. But definitely the tri-state area definitely got hit as well.
Well, because I have friends in Suffolk County where I used to live. There's a whole area of the North Shore that literally roads just disintegrated, and there's a Blindberg Park, which is really well known. That lake has completely drained itself because the dam went out. So there's some crazy weather going on lately.
Yeah, there was a road in Stony Brook that the whole road went out, the village of Stony Brook. So the old stomping grounds. But that was show. I mean, this has been going on for a little bit of time now. So won't you remind people about your book and the work that you do?
Well, my book, Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt, is all about my story of overcoming the cycle of toxic relationships. And the big reason why I wrote it is because I wanted people to know that no matter what they've experienced, they can create something different for themselves. So I shared my story of overcoming along with other people who have overcome their cycle, and then some real tips and tools that they can use to heal as well.
Well, it's a great book and you're doing such great work. And, I'm really thankful that our show has been, it's like 4 years now, right? Almost 4.5 years.
Yeah, 4.5 years.
And we're still doing it.
I know, it's amazing. And Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb started off of just talking about unhealthy romantic relationships, but it's really done a lot of shifts in those 4.5 years, which I love. I love being able to have people from all over come and share their story of whatever that toxic relationship is for them.
That's right. Every Tuesday night we start at 7 Eastern Standard Time, and we just upgraded our cable contract so we get new times and locations, new times and dates for our show in the tri-state area. So we'll announce that in the next couple of weeks.
Nice, exciting stuff. You've always got
Yes,
something fun going on, Steve.
no doubt about it. Why don't you talk about our guest tonight?
Well, I'm going to just jump right in. We have an amazing guest, Cami Red, who is joining us, and she's got some really exciting stuff going on. So, toxic relationships, but she's doing more than that. And I think that this is, again, one of the reasons why we do this show is to let people know that after that relationship, there's a whole wide world out there. And I'm so excited for her to share her newest adventures. So, let's welcome Cami to the show.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for joining us today. I understand you're doing such amazing work, so thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah.
So when Cami and I first met, we were starting when I put out there into the universe, like, we're looking for guests for this wonderful show. And you came to me and said, hey, I'm currently working through my issues with toxic relationships, but I do something else. Do you want to tell me kind of where that all started, where you were at, and how things are going for you now?
Okay, well, as I was explaining to you when we first met, I am actually a sustainable nutrition coach and a nutritionist and dietitian. I actually teach people how to eat properly and how to live a sustainable lifestyle. I also host a virtual summit that's called the 10 Dimensions of Wellness, where we talk about the interconnectedness of physical wellness, emotional wellness, mental wellness, and how everything plays a part with each other. And it finds balance and you find balance across your life in all of those areas.
Is that Cami's or is that mine?
I think it might be hers right now.
I was like, wait a minute, is Steve frozen too?
Oh no, I'm good. I'm good.
And when we met, I was coming out of a very toxic and
All right. I think we lost her. We'll have her back. But it's a really interesting story, and I know that we'll get Cammie back because she is the epitome of what we're talking about when it comes to what happens when you actually heal. I think sometimes when you're stuck in that toxicity, and I know that you've had this experience even with the work that you do, when you're stuck wherever you are in your life, it's hard to imagine what the rest of the world can be like once you get out of that unstuck place. Have you had that experience with your clients?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, because all the work and the healing and the growth and the developing new coping mechanisms happen when you're in the throes of a toxic situation. So, then what happens when it lifts? What is the lifestyle? What's the change in routine? What's the change? What's the pivot in your thinking so that there's not a relapse or attracting to similar situations that created a toxic situation to begin with.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, I'm even thinking for you, like, could you have imagined, we got Cammie back, but could you imagine really quick, Steve, when you were a kid dealing with what you dealt with, could you imagine the life you'd be living now?
No, not at all. Not at all. But when I look back on it, it's the work that I'm doing now is because of that experience. Yep. So, I think that's an important message there. So we apologize. Yeah, we're back now. So welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. It's okay. I'm used to technical difficulties, so I totally understand.
Yeah, we're used to technical difficulties as well, too.
Yeah. All right. So what we got was, you're a nutritionist. You help people with all that holistic stuff. And then where were you at after that?
Well, what I was saying was, for the past 2 years, I've been in a super toxic and I guess I hate to use this word, but abusive relationship. It was one that kept me dormant for the past 2 years where I wasn't really working or helping people. And then when I got the gall to say, hey, I think I want to get back into what I'm doing, it just turned super bad from there. It was more so being called different names, being demeaned, told I wasn't worth anything. I was of no benefit to anybody. And those were things that I had internalized. And even though prior to me being in this relationship, I was, all over helping people, doing all kinds of things. If you Google me, you'll see I have interviews all the way back to 2009 where I was helping people with food and stuff. But for the past 2 years, you won't find anything on me. Mm-hmm. Wow. So it kept me in a place where I was, what I like to say is my partner had his foot on my neck and keeping me down so that he could feel better about himself. Mm-hmm. So after I left that situation, I didn't know what was going to happen. I actually ended up having to move back home to Atlanta, and it was almost like my life changed for the better. And I was telling Stephanie prior, I just wrote a new book called Dear Black Woman. And what it really is it was letters that I wrote to myself to come out of the situation that I was in, to rebuild my own confidence and to put me in the mindset to move forward in the same way that I had done in the past, and to still celebrate who I am and understand my worth and my power and what it is that I can do. So
let me ask you, I'm sorry, because you did a lot of work in the community giving back since you said 2009, basically, and that's 11, 12, 13 years. So when this relationship began, it must have been gut-wrenching for you to give up on that based on the relationship that you just formed.
So my partner lied to me in the beginning of our relationship. He made it seem as like he was coming in to be a partner, coming in to be a helpmate, coming in to assist with some of the things that I have going on. I was starting a nonprofit where I was looking to buy land in Texas to open my own ranch and farm for foster kids. I actually have a nonprofit right now called Three Kings. So instead of looking for land in Texas, I just moved back home about 3 months ago. So this all just ended about 3 months ago.
Wow.
And my life has changed drastically in those 3 months. So
Wow.
yeah, he sort of misled himself. And once we got into the relationship, it was totally different than what, you know, he had said it was going to be.
So
oh, sorry, Steve. They love those strong, powerful women because we look good on their arm, and then they want to do everything they can to break us down.
Yes, that's exactly how it went. That's exactly how it went.
So for that 2-year period where you weren't doing the things that you were doing, you know, giving back and helping people and empowering others, it must have been really challenging for you.
It was. And I tell people it got to the point where I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. That's how depressed I was. I was always in flight or fight mode, not knowing what was going to happen from the next day to the next day. And it was always a switch up every month, every week. It was something different all the time. And as I stated, I was being told that I was worthless, that I was useless, that I was of no benefit to anyone. And the things that I was trying to do were a hindrance to his life as opposed to something to benefit us all.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, even though you had done all this great work, and this is what I see all the time with clients too, is that these successful, professional, smart, beautiful women that have been able to do all these things, but they get with someone who feels bad about themselves and tries to bring them down. But you would think on the outside that you'd see it right away and be like, screw that, I'm not dealing with someone talking to me that way. But when you're in that relationship, this is supposed to be the person that loves and respects us and supports us. So it's such a confusing time with our brain, because in one sense, they're our partner and they're telling us how they love us and what they want, what's best for us and all that kind of stuff. And then on the other hand, they're saying all these horrific things that are really just meant to manipulate and control us.
And as women, we're nurturers. So even if we see, like for me, what I was telling my friends is, you know, I know he's insecure and I know he's this, but I'm doing everything, you know, on my part to let him know that how much I love him, how much I value him, how much of this, I know he's feeling this type of way. I know this about him. So I'm good. And in my mind, I actually thought I could fix the situation. Yeah. And instead of fixing the situation, it actually hurt me a whole lot more.
Wow. And moving back to Atlanta, what was the turning point for you? Were you nervous about moving back? Did you kind of welcome it? And what have you changed within yourself that you're doing in Atlanta that maybe not in Texas?
I'm going to be honest with you. No, I did not welcome it. I did not want to do it. To me, moving back home seemed like a failure in my life. So it wasn't really something that I wanted to do or something that I felt like I needed to do. My son actually called my father and told my father what was going on with me. And my dad called me and asked me one day, you know, like, hey, what's going on? You know, and I, as an adult, and I never wanted to involve my parents in actually what was happening in my life. But my dad was like, hey, you don't have to take that from anybody. You don't have to deal with that kind of stuff. And I think, you know, if you're not doing this and you're not okay, you need to move back home. So in that situation, I took my parents' advice and I actually came back home and I decided, okay, when I get home, what am I going to do? Am I going to go back to being a chef? Am I going to go back to doing sustainable nutrition? But the first thing I did was I sought out a therapist and I talked to a therapist about what it is I had been through and some of the ways that I could sort of fight what had been told to me and not fix him anymore, but actually fix myself.
Well, we appreciate your candidness and your honesty, and we apologize for asking a lot of personal questions. But what you're saying is so helpful to people out there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. I don't mind at all. That's actually why I came on this show, was to really tell people what it looks like on the other side of a toxic relationship, and how even if you think you're powerless within that relationship, how powerful you actually become when you let go of those things.
Wow.
And how it can literally happen to anyone. I mean, you were literally helping other people to heal. And then there you were in a similar situation, needing someone else to help. And I find sometimes with helpers, it's hard for us. Like I heard you say it too. It's hard for us to ask for help, even though we're the helpers. So even like you didn't want your parents to know, and they sound like amazing people. They were like, Cammie, come back. We'll take care of you. Like, what a beautiful gift to be able to get that from your parents, of that kind of support and trust and love, so that you can actually truly heal.
Yeah. And like I said, toxic situations have a way of just breaking people down. Even when you think that you are the one that you think you can fix it. Oh, I'll be okay. I'm strong. No, this will never happen to me. People are manipulative. People lie. And in situations like that, it's not your fault and it's not your responsibility to fix them. It's actually your responsibility to take care of yourself, your mindset, and work on healing yourself. And if that situation isn't pouring into you, then you actually have to leave that situation. And that's for both parties. So in a relationship, you guys should be pouring into each other. You should be feeding each other. You should be uplifting each other. And if your relationship isn't doing that for you, if you find that you're the only one pouring in love, you're the only one pouring in compassion, you're the only one pouring in support, then that's not the situation for you.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Relationships are not one-sided.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, our show, I mean, it's really a platform for stories like yours, but you pivoted and wrote a book. So talk about your book a little bit.
Yes. So I'll tell you this. My book is actually a therapy assignment. My therapist gave me an assignment to write some letters to myself and talk about and tell myself who I am. And she told me, if you were a young lady going through this, what would you say to someone who had gone through this? And these needed to be letters that I would truly and genuinely understand. So the book is called Dear Black Woman, and it's letters of love, strength, and empowerment. And throughout the book, it's just a bunch of letters to tell me to, build my confidence. Perfection is not real. Vulnerability is a good thing. Let go of past traumas, build a community, find people to support you. So each letter is a love letter to myself that I wrote. And when I wrote it, my therapist asked me, she said, hey, can I have a copy of this? And she got a copy of it. She showed it to a friend, and she came back to me and said, hey, I know being an author is like your little side hustle and what you do part-time, but you should really consider publishing these letters, because other women are going through what it is that you're going through. Other women have gone through some of these things, and I think everybody needs to hear this. And even though the book is called Dear Black Woman, but that's because that's what I am. The book is literally for anybody. Anybody can read it. My son read it and said, hey, Mom, I know you said this is for women, but this is actually, men can apply these lessons as well. Mm-hmm. So my book is just love letters to self, telling people, hey, no matter what you're going through, you can overcome this. And these are the ways to keep moving forward.
Okay, but now share with the audience, and Steve's going to be blown away by this. So you wrote this as an assignment for therapy, which Steve is a therapist, so he already got excited about that.
Yes, I am. You're getting some ideas here.
Yeah, he's getting some ideas. But now, tell us where you're at now with the book, because it went from like this assignment. Share where you're at now with this.
Okay, so my book is now on Audible. It's on Barnes & Noble. It's on Amazon. It got picked up by Ingram Sparks. It is actually going to be in local bookstores and libraries. I go on tour in October in the United States, but My book isn't just in the United States. It's also been picked up internationally as well. So I will be going to Europe and to the Caribbean on a book tour as well with my book. So see how on the other side of this toxic relationship, and because of this toxic relationship, I am now thriving and doing
Wow.
very well.
Wow, that is remarkable. You must, when that all unfolded like that, I mean, what was your first thoughts when you got the call that this was happening this way?
Steve, I just wrote the book last month.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. So it's literally been about a month now. What is today? Today is, yes, it has been exactly 1 month. And I am forever grateful because I am extremely overwhelmed, extremely busy, and it was all just coming to me at once. And like I said, I just moved home 2 months ago to Atlanta. So this was not a part of my plan at all. So
Guess what? You're not staying in Atlanta.
No,
Wow.
not at all. I'm going on
Wow.
an 8-city U.S. book signing tour. We'll be hitting a couple of cities in South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. And then in January, we will be hosting a retreat in Martinique. And then in April of next year, I will be going to Paris, London, Lisbon, Berlin, and to Amsterdam.
Holy cow. This is the part of the show I feel insignificant. That is remarkable.
Stephen, where's your book, Stephen?
I know.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, how does your family feel about all this?
Everyone is excited. My grandmother, and I'm so blessed. So when I say I didn't want to move back home, moving back home actually ended up just being a blessing in disguise. I got the love that I needed from my family, and luckily for me, I still have both of my grandmothers here on earth. So my grandmothers are always pouring into me. And my grandmother, the other day, my aunt came over and she was telling my grandmother that she had listened to my book and she had heard it and how wonderful it was. And my grandma was like, well, why haven't you given me a copy of it?
Sounds like a grandmother thing to say.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, you mentioned earlier work with foster care or interest in working with foster children in the foster care system. I'm a product of the foster care system. So that sparked my eye a little bit. What's your thoughts about your work with them?
Well, Steve, I've worked in nonprofit and, like I said, the service industry for a very long time. That's actually part of why I moved to Texas. I was contracted by a nonprofit organization to be their program coordinator. And while I was there, I became a CASA volunteer. And one day I got a call from the local high school about some kids that their foster parents had moved and they didn't want to move with them. So they were actually staying in the park behind the school. And that really, really touched my heart. So I decided to go out and get registered to become a foster parent. One of the things that I am working on doing is buying land here in Georgia to open my own ranch and farm, but also to open my own foster care facility for CWOPs, which are children without placement. Right. So I'm looking to house young boys between the ages of 8 to 17, but also I've developed a vocational program so that after the age of 17, once they're out of the foster care system, between the ages of 18 to 25, they'll still be able to maintain residency on my farm by us enrolling them in certifications and in a vocational program that teaches them agriculture. So we're hoping that by the time these boys graduate from our program, they'll be able to go work in various areas. And we're partnering with some banks because we also want to build our own group of landowners. So we want to give young kids the opportunity to own their own land as well.
Well, that's great. Yeah, two things you're going for you with that. I mean, the struggles are when children age out.
Yes.
And so you got that covered at least through 25, and then working with banks and teaching them a work ethic and vocational skills that goes hand in hand. So
yes.
Kudos to you in that effort.
Thank you. It was just something like I saw a lot of kids at 18 being placed in homeless shelters, or, you know, they were just dumped on college steps if they were going to college. So it was very important. And my son did not leave the house really until he was 25. And I know that 18 is not an adult, even though the state and the government says otherwise. Most children are not ready to really leave nowadays. You have a lot of people who even at 30 are moving back home because they're not financially stable enough to actually live in the world today. So how are you going to throw a 17 or 18-year-old out and expect them to actually, you know, be able to build, be secure, be safe, and, you know, build their own life that way? Yes, some of them do it and they fight against what society has done, but a lot of them don't, and a lot of them end up in penitentiaries or in the criminal system. So that's one of the reasons why we are actually looking to buy land, just to prevent that from happening. I wrote a book not too long ago called Unveiling the Tangled Path. I told you being an author is just my side hustle. I love to write, and it's actually about the foster care to penitentiary pipeline and how a lot of kids go from foster care to being in the penitentiary system, but it's not by their own design. It's actually based on survival.
Right. Wow. I mean, yeah. So the 2 books are out there, right? How can people contact you, get a hold of you, or if they had follow-up questions for you, how would they reach out to you?
My website is CamiRed.com. You can find me on all social media at CamiRedTX, which is like the abbreviation for Texas.
Awesome.
My books are also on sale on my website. So
there we go. Well, jump on over there, grab a copy for yourself, share it. I mean, this is beautiful, amazing work that Cammie's taken her pain and really created her power with that. So thank you for sharing your heart with us and all that great stuff. I know Steve can't wait to talk to you after the show. I can see his brain going.
I know. We want to go and tour with you. How do we get to go with you? That's what I'm trying to figure this out. No, well,
Steve will have to talk.
Yes, definitely. God bless your efforts, and God bless, you know, the things that you went through and you pivoted and how you turned things around, not just for you, for others, and the power of family. I mean, look at that. I mean, sometimes people as an adult they would shun that advice, but you took it on. You knew you had to pivot, and look what happened. God bless. That's what a story that is.
Thank you guys for having me on the show tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wow, Stephanie, great show.
I told you we got great guests, and we got some more great guests coming up. So make sure you come and hang out with us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And never forget, you are way better than you realize.
Right. And remember, I'm not a guest. I'm a co-host. Remember that. Okay? Remember that.
We'll
We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.